I doubt God on a regular basis, but I'm trying to grow in faith. Okay, how do you do that? You do it intellectually, you do it spiritually, you do it emotionally, you look at your experience. First of all, intellectually. When I have a doubt about God, about whether God exists or not, about whether God is good or not, I don't just say, oh, stop asking questions, Cliff. Under the rug we go. No, that's dishonest. I've got to study. And you know what frustrates the socks off of me is how many people say to me, well, Cliff, I got a doubt, therefore I can't believe. You've got to be kidding me. If you're a thinking human being, you doubt everything. You don't go around saying, oh, I have no doubts about science. I have no doubts about history. I have no doubts about philosophy. I just believe everything 100%. Well, sir, if that's true of you, you're basically brain dead. You're not thinking. So yes, when intellectually I have doubts about God, I better go and study. I better not just conclude, oh, I don't believe, or I do believe. No, you got to study. Secondly, I doubt often, and it's a spiritual issue. Usually meaning by that, I'm like the guy who says, I don't believe in the resurrection of Christ. And I say, really, why? And they give me such a hollow answer to that question, it's scary. I look them in the face and say, you know something, I think I know why you don't believe in the resurrection of Christ. Because you know that if Christ rose from the dead, he's the truth. Which means the sexual lifestyle you live is unacceptable. And so therefore, because you do not want Christ to be the truth, because you want to live a certain sexual lifestyle, you don't study the resurrection. You just say, it didn't happen. See, that's really a spiritual issue. That's not an intellectual issue. That's more a spiritual issue. Third point, my experience. When I really watch evil people win, that hurts. When I watch good people really suffer, that hurts. And emotionally, I can be reeling. God, why? Why did you allow that to happen? I had a 7-year-old niece who was involved in a car accident and she was killed immediately. And I can promise you, sir, when I went out to Wisconsin and walked with my brother, the father of that niece, around this field, and he was asking a bunch of hard questions, emotionally, we were really hurting. God, what's going on? The babysitter didn't see the stop sign, ran the stop sign, pickup truck at 55 miles an hour slams into the car, killing instantly my 7-year-old niece, my brother's daughter. And emotionally, sir, that is such a hit. It's like a meltdown occurs. When I see order and design, I don't care if it's an automobile, a delicious meal, an article of clothing, a wristwatch, I know that there's an intelligent mind behind the order and design. So when I go to the creation, to the universe, and see the incredible order and design of your rational mind, your beautiful body, for me to say it's an accident, that's totally illogical for me. It's totally unreasonable.
I mean, it could also be illogical to jump to the conclusion that just because there's like these things with design, there has to be some intelligent mind behind it.
Yeah, but man, here's why I can't believe that. 100 times out of 100, when I see order and design, it points me to a designer. I don't care if it's playing basketball. I tried really hard to play major college basketball. Do you know how hard it is with a guy in your face to put a ball through a hoop that's 10 feet off the ground? I wish it happened by accident. For me, it didn't. I had to be incredibly coordinated and practice like blazes to put the ball through the hoop 10 feet above the ground. You don't get order and design by chance.
I mean, you do get order and design by scientific laws, and we have like gravity. We have things like that. That's why we're not going to have like just a regular basketball going into like a hoop.
Okay, ma'am. We've gone over that so many times. He doesn't want to hear me talk about that anymore, and I don't blame him. All right? But if you're an atheist and you can tell me that order and design comes about by chance, I think you're living in fantasy land. Because I have to work so hard to bring order and design into my life and chaos takes over my life so easily that for me to seriously think that the order and design of the universe can come about by chance, I'm sorry, you've just violated what I have to do every day. I gotta bust tail, I gotta use my brain as hard as I can to bring order out of chaos. I don't care if it's in my marriage, my family, raising him. Wow. Do you know how difficult it was to bring order and design to his life when he was a little kid? He was an accident waiting for a place to happen. And I had to bring order and design to his life. It's part of what every parent does. So once you accept the possibility of the supernatural, then you begin to realize if there is a supernatural God, miracles can happen. Why? What's a miracle?
Chance. Things that go against chance.
No. You throw me a baseball 100 times out of 100. If I don't intervene, what's going to happen to that baseball? It's going to hit the ground because of gravity. But if I catch the baseball, is it going to hit the ground? No. I caught it. So what you have is you got a law of gravity. The ball is thrown 100 times out of 100, it hits the ground. But when my hand intervenes and I catch the baseball, it does not hit the ground. So what's a miracle? A miracle is the introduction of the hand of God that changes a natural law, catching the baseball so it doesn't hit the ground. Final point on this is, yeah, but Cliff, you've got to repeat it. And if you can't repeat it, it's not true. So repeat the resurrection of Christ and then I'll believe in it. I disagree. My mom was a great golfer. She hit a hole-in-one. Did I see her hit the hole-in-one? No. Can she repeat hitting a hole-in-one? No. Then why would I believe she hit a hole-in-one on a golf course? Because people were there, saw it, and they told me. You can't repeat the beginning of the universe. Does that mean there wasn't a beginning of the universe? You can't repeat George Washington being the first president of the United States. Does that mean that George Washington was not the first president of the United States? No. So when David Hume says, you Christians are stupid because you can't repeat a miracle, therefore it didn't happen, he's being stupid. I can't repeat George Washington. I can't repeat the creation of the universe. I can't repeat yesterday in my life. It doesn't mean it didn't happen just because you can't repeat it. Historical knowledge, which is not based on repeatability, is a legitimate form of knowledge. So miracles are totally possible because there's a supernatural God. And that's why I believe in the resurrection of Christ, because the historical evidence is that Christ really died, was buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, and 3 days he really rose from the dead. And the reason I'm open to believing that is because I realize the evidence is there's a supernatural God.
I still think it's the issue of, so we believe in a virgin birth. Jesus Christ came into this world not by Joseph and Mary having sex. It was a virgin birth. An atheist believes in a virgin birth of the universe. An atheist believes in a virgin birth of the universe. It came from nothing, popped out of nowhere. Or you could say it's always existed, but nobody ever really had to start it. It just always existed. Einstein, Hubble blew that theory out of the water. Or you could go with the infinite regress. That it just infinitely, there was something behind it and someone must have created God, so that doesn't make any sense. Or you go with the multiverse. But there's absolutely no evidence behind the multiverse. But those first two, something must have created this place. Secondly, if not, then this place existed, the cosmos existed infinitely. But if you have an infinite existence, you never get back to one. It never started, so you can never even begin to count with one, so we have no grasp of infinity. And so when we look at it from that perspective, an atheist believes in miracles. Flat out.
Then I would have to define miracle more as just something that's just highly unlikely instead of something that's
more
the
than
hand
that.
of God.
More than that.
Like
yeah.
highly unlikely.
Highly, but it also breaks our understanding of what a natural law is.
Well, I mean,
Supernatural.
But then in that, you can't really attribute, like, just because, okay, there was, or then, okay, sorry, let me backtrack. If you're saying that an atheist believes, like, that then like something came, right? There had to be like particles or something together. Isn't that like just the same thing as like God, right? Like putting it together instead of like nature.
Here, can you speak up a little bit louder?
Instead of like nature versus God,
Yeah.
like isn't that basically like the same thing? If like the particles like existed, they just came together, and then God just like, is it just basically the same thing referring to it? I don't know.
Yeah, something must have started those particles. Something must have created those particles. Somebody was arguing out here earlier about the splitting of the atom and that we can somehow create something from nothing. But it's still us creating that thing from nothing, supposedly. So the person didn't take the step back again, understanding that our intelligent mind is making this type of scientific miracle, supposedly, occur. It's the Henry Ford with the internal combustion. It's God with evolution. And you need both. You can't have this random, unguided process of evolution that just came out of nowhere. Something must have started it.
So then why would God allow evolution if he created everything perfectly in the first place? Like,
Yes. No, that's a very good point. Why didn't he just create everything in such a way where there needed to be no evolution? I would say for one would be, it doesn't discount God whatsoever that he used evolution. That's just the way he went about making that type of change, typically for the better. Mutations, not so good. But I think something like mutations and the things that are not good that come with evolution were tainted by the fall. Genesis chapter 3, when it came to sin and the brokenness that came from it. So I believe that sin impacted this world cosmically. Natural disasters, sociologically, divorce, relational breakdown, psychologically, depression, anxiety, bipolar. That makes sense. If you don't have an understanding of what sin is, then what explains the breakdown? And why do I care so much about breakdown? Because I was just born into this place where it's a naturalistic worldview, and things they shouldn't bug me so much because I'm just born here. But see, that's why so many people have actually come to believe in God, because of things like evil, where they say evil bugs me. Naturalism can't explain evil, and evil's a horrible thing. So there must be some type of moral standard that God puts in place where I understand that evil is really wrong.
Well, I mean, like, I guess evil and morals are more of like a subjective term, I would say. Like, depending on the society that it's in, like, if you, I don't know, I guess maybe stealing someone's, like, animals or cattle would have more repercussions than, I don't know, something else in that society. So.
Well, right. I believe, though, even the stealing of the backpack, you're going to say that that person ought not to have done that. There's moral duties. There's moral obligations. If you take it from an evolutionary standpoint, yet again, you can get moral emotions. I feel like that is bad. But there's no moral obligation or duties.
I mean, that's...
You should not have done that. There's a duty. You have a duty as a human being not to have killed that person. Even cannibals, from a sociological study, they have to take a human being and say, we are not going to count you as a human being anymore, so we can eat you now. They don't just say, oh, it's morally fine, I'm just going to eat this person. Even cannibals do that. And so I think across culture, an understanding of the value of a human being is innate.
Yeah, I would... Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. Like, but you wouldn't really be able to prove that with, like, science or anything. That's more like a philosophical thing.
But back to your point, you made a good point on the Odyssey. Is the Bible just Aesop's fables? The Bible, specifically the Gospels, were not written in such a way where there was any type of room for people to say, okay, this is fiction. This is historical fiction. They would have been so many years ahead of their time that type of talent to write historical fiction in that kind of way would have been 1,000 years down the road. Over 1,000, actually. And so it's written actually as history. Many different ways to understand that. One is Acts has 84 eyewitness details in it. The Gospel of John has 59 eyewitness details in it. You have things, for example, when Jesus is on the beach. There are 53 fish that will be eaten. You have the boats out at sea before they come into the beach. How many boats there were and how far away they were from each other. That is exactly how historical nonfiction is written. And so the burden of proof is for an atheist to step in and say, okay, but let's dissect this in a way that somehow we know it's not written as fiction, but somehow it didn't happen. It's anti-historical.
Like, okay, let's say like everything you said about the New Testament.
Wait, can I ask you?
Yes.
Would you say you have complete confidence and are arguing from a negation when it comes to atheism? I am completely confident that there is absolutely no chance for there to be a God.
No, I don't think any human could actually know that for sure.
But many out here argue that.
I think it's just like something that you wouldn't know for sure, and I personally wouldn't say that definitively.
So you're agnostic?
I would say so.
Would you ever get to the point of saying, I'm going to actually make a decision to be a strong atheist or a Christian?
I don't think so, because I just don't think that, like, philosophically you could really prove the existence of God. Without, especially, like, with, like, saying, like, okay, the only thing that we have going really is just, like, the Bible or something, then I don't know. Or, like, just, like, stating things about, like, the design, like, logically or something. I wouldn't say that you would definitively be able to, like, say that there's...
How would you explain, then, the mathematical laws, strong and weak forces, subatomic particles, gravity, and endless more examples of constants in this universe, the complete readiness, somebody was monkeying around, let's just say with the dials, to make this place a perfectly placed spot in the universe for humans to actually be able to live, to have life in. How would you explain it? Because even just one example would be, if you are going to, it's astronomical. The chances are so astronomically small that we can't even comprehend that how we actually showed up on this earth and that it has life-giving order to it. One example would be if there were 12 marksmen, professional marksmen, who were lining up to shoot you from 10 feet away. They would all have to miss completely. Another example would be if someone shot from one end of the cosmos to the other, shot a bullet and landed in a target and landed in an inch wide spot. It's not even close to being reasonable. Now, does that prove God? No. But that is shattering for somebody who says, no, there can't be a God, or no, there's just no evidence at all. Understanding that this place is so, just the readiness for human life to pop up is phenomenal.